Part 1. First Contact. The vast expanse of space stretched out before Captain Ilara Chen as she guided her small scout ship through the asteroid fields surrounding the uncharted planet designated XR742. The ship's sensors hummed softly, scanning for any signs of the rare minerals that had brought her to this remote corner of the galaxy. Ilara had always been drawn to the unknown, volunteering for the most dangerous missions and pushing the boundaries of human exploration. Her crew often joked that she had ice in her veins, but the truth was that the thrill of discovery burned hot in her chest, driving her ever onward. As she maneuvered between two particularly large asteroids, a flash of light caught her eye. At first, she dismissed it as a reflection from a crystalline formation, but then she saw it again, a deliberate pattern that couldn't be natural. "Computer, analyze that light source," Ilara commanded, her heart rate quickening. Analysis complete, the AI responded in its cool, emotionless tone. "The light pattern suggests artificial origin. Recommend caution." Ilara's lips curved into a smile. Caution wasn't in her vocabulary. She adjusted her course, guiding the ship towards the mysterious signal. As she broke through the planet's atmosphere, the true scale of what awaited her became apparent. Rising from the misty surface was a structure unlike anything she had ever seen, a twisting spire that seemed to defy gravity, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence. Ilara set her ship down on a relatively flat area near the base of the structure. The planet's atmosphere was breathable, according to her sensors, but she still donned her protective suit before stepping out onto the alien world. The air was thick and humid, filled with unfamiliar scents. Vegetation unlike anything on Earth surrounded her, pulsing with bioluminescence in the planet's dim light. Ilara's hand instinctively went to the pistol at her hip as she approached the towering structure. As she drew closer, she noticed intricate patterns etched into the surface of the spire. They seemed to shift and change as she looked at them, as if alive. Ilara reached out, her gloved hand hovering just above the strange material. Suddenly, a deep, resonant hum filled the air. The ground beneath her feet vibrated, and Ilara stumbled back, her heart pounding. The surface of the spire began to ripple like water, and from within its depths emerged a figure that made Ilara's breath catch in her throat. The alien that stood before her was easily 8 feet tall, its body a symphony of angles and curves that seemed to defy human comprehension. Its skin, if it could be called that, shimmered with the same iridescence as the spire, shifting colors in a hypnotic dance. Ilara's hand tightened on her weapon, but she didn't draw it. Something in the alien's stance, a certain hesitancy perhaps, told her that it was just as wary of her as she was of it. For a long moment, they stood in silence, two beings from vastly different worlds, separated by a gulf of evolution and experience. Then, to Ilara's amazement, the alien spoke. "You are not like the others," it said, its voice a melodious blend of tones that seemed to resonate within Ilara's very bones. Ilara blinked in surprise. You can speak my language." The alien's body rippled, a movement that Ilara interpreted as something akin to a shrug. "I speak all languages and none. Your mind hears what it can comprehend." Slowly, carefully, Ilara relaxed her grip on her weapon. "I'm Captain Ilara Chen of the Earth Exploration Corps. I come in peace." The alien's form shimmered, and Ilara had the distinct impression that it was unused. "Peace," it repeated, as if tasting the word. "A concept often spoken of, rarely achieved, yet I sense no deception in you, Ilara Chen of Earth." "What are you?" Ilara asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "What is this place?" The alien's form shifted, elongating slightly. "I am Zyrex, last of the Luminari. This," it gestured to the spire and the surrounding landscape, "is all that remains of my world." Ilara's mind raced with questions. "You're alone here? What happened to your people?" Xyrex's colors darkened, a wave of deep blues and purples washing over its form. A tale of hubris and folly, not unlike those I have observed in many species across the cosmos. We reached too far, delved too deep into the mysteries of the universe. In our quest for knowledge, we awakened something that should have remained dormant. A chill ran down Ilara's spine. What did you awaken? Xyrex's form contracted, becoming more compact. The Void Eaters, ancient beings that exist between the stars, feeding on energy and life itself. We barely managed to seal them away, but the cost, the alien's voice trailed off, filled with an ache that transcended species. Ilara felt a surge of empathy for this strange, lonely being. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said softly. Xyrex's colors shifted again, warm golds and soft greens rippling across its surface. "Your compassion is unexpected. The few others who have found their way here sought only to exploit, to conquer." "That's not why I'm here," Ilara said firmly. "I'm an explorer seeking knowledge and understanding." "Knowledge," Xyrex echoed, its tone thoughtful. "A double-edged sword, as my people learned too late. Yet perhaps," the alien's form expanded, tendrils of light reaching out towards Ilara. "Perhaps you are different. Perhaps in you, I see a chance for redemption." Ilara stood her ground as the tendrils of light surrounded her, feeling a warmth that went beyond the physical. In that moment, she knew that her life, and potentially the fate of humanity, had changed forever. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Xyrex's form pulsed with urgency. "The seals are weakening, Ilara Chen of Earth. The Void Eaters stir in their ancient prison. If they awaken fully, no life in this galaxy will be safe." Ilara's mind reeled at the implications. How can we stop them? "Alone we cannot," Xyrex said, its voice resolute. "But together, your species' innovation combined with the remnants of my people's knowledge, we might stand a chance." Ilara knew she should be afraid. She knew she should retreat to her ship, report back to Earth, let the politicians and generals decide humanity's course. But as she looked at Xyrex, this ancient, lonely being reaching out across the vastness of space and time, she felt something else entirely: hope. With a deep breath, Ilara stepped forward, reaching out to touch one of Xyrex's luminous tendrils. The sensation was indescribable, like plunging her hand into liquid starlight. "Okay," she said, her voice steady and determined. "Let's save the galaxy." As their energies mingled, human and alien, a new chapter in the history of the cosmos began. The challenges ahead were immense, the odds stacked against them, but in that moment, on a distant world beneath an alien sky, the seeds of an extraordinary partnership were sown. Xyrex's form blazed with brilliant light, its voice resonating with newfound purpose. "Then let us begin, Ilara Chen of Earth. There is much to do, and time grows short." As they turned towards the towering spire, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She had come seeking rare minerals, but had found something far more precious and far more dangerous. Whatever lay ahead, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The looming threat, the interior of the alien spire, was a marvel of engineering and artistry that defied Ilara's understanding. Corridors shifted and realigned as they walked, surfaces rippling with the same iridescent energy that composed Xyrex's form. Ilara's scientist's mind burned with questions, but the urgency in Xyrex's movements told her that now was not the time for idle curiosity. They came to a vast chamber at the heart of the structure. At its center floated a pulsating orb of energy, tendrils of light stretching out to connect with the walls. "The Nexus," Xyrex explained, its voice tinged with reverence and sorrow. "The last remnant of my people's great works, and our greatest mistake." Ilara approached cautiously, feeling the raw power emanating from the orb. "This is what's keeping the Void Eaters contained." Xyrex's form rippled with affirmation. "For now. But the seals are weakening. Already, their influence seeps through." As if on cue, a shudder ran through the chamber. The light dimmed momentarily, and Ilara felt a chill that went beyond the physical, a creeping sense of dread that clawed at the edges of her mind. "What was that?" she asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. "A harbinger," Zyrex said grimly. "The Void Eaters test their bonds. We must act quickly." The alien gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life around them. Ilara gasped as she saw the vastness of space laid out before her, more detailed and comprehensive than any star chart she had ever seen. "These are the seal points," Zyrex explained, indicating pulsing nodes scattered across the galaxy. "Anchors that bind the Void Eaters to their prison, but they are failing one by one." Ilara studied the map, her tactical mind already racing. "We need to reinforce them somehow, but how can just the two of us cover so much ground?" Zyrex's form contracted slightly, a gesture Ilara was beginning to recognize as their equivalent of a nod. "We cannot, which is why we must seek allies." The alien manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on a particular sector. "Here, a gathering of spacefaring races drawn together by mutual need and suspicion. Your people call it the Galactic Concord." Ilara's eyes widened in surprise. "The Concord. But Earth isn't a member. We've barely begun to explore beyond our own solar system." "Perhaps," Zyrex said, its tone thoughtful. "But times change. Necessity forges unlikely alliances." Another tremor shook the chamber, stronger this time. The nexus flickered ominously, and Ilara felt that creeping dread intensify. "We don't have much time, do we?" she asked, already knowing the answer. Zyrex's colors darkened. "No, the Void Eaters grow stronger with each passing moment. We must move swiftly." Ilara took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "All right, how do we get to the Concord?" In response, Zyrex's form began to shift and flow, coalescing into a more compact shape. "Your vessel is too small, too slow. We will use what remains of my people's technology." Before Ilara's astonished eyes, Zyrex transformed into a sleek, shimmering craft that seemed to exist halfway between solid matter and pure energy. "Whoa," Ilara breathed, reaching out to touch the gleaming surface. It was warm beneath her fingers, thrumming with barely contained power. A hatch erased open in the side of the craft. "Enter," Zyrex's voice echoed from within. "Time grows short." Ilara hesitated for only a moment before climbing inside. The interior was unlike any ship she had ever seen, organic and technological elements blending seamlessly. As she settled into what seemed to be a control interface, the hatch sealed behind her. "Prepare yourself," Zyrex warned. "The journey will be intense." Before Ilara could ask what that meant, the world around her blurred. She felt a momentary sensation of immense pressure, as if the entire universe was compressing around her. Then, with a burst of light that seared her retinas even through closed eyelids, they were moving. The journey lasted both an eternity and no time at all. When Ilara's vision finally cleared, she found herself staring out at a sight that took her breath away. Before them hung a massive space station, a marvel of engineering that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. Ships of all shapes and sizes swarmed around it like bees around a hive, each one representing a different alien race. "The Concord," Zyrex's voice resonated through the ship. "The heart of galactic diplomacy and cooperation. And now our best hope for salvation." As they approached the station, a communication channel crackled to life. An alien voice, harsh and guttural, barked out a challenge in a language Ilara didn't recognize. "Let me," Zyrex said. The ship vibrated as the alien responded, their melodious tones a stark contrast to the aggressive query. There was a long pause, then the voice returned, this time speaking in accented but understandable English. "Luminary vessel, you are cleared for docking in Bay 17. Be advised, your presence has caused quite a stir. The council awaits." As they maneuvered towards the indicated bay, Ilara's mind raced. "Zyrex, what did you tell them?" "The truth," the alien replied simply. "That we bring warning of a threat that endangers all life in the galaxy." The mention of the luminary was enough to grant us an audience. My people were well known once before our fall. The docking procedure was smooth and efficient. As the ship settled into place, Ilara felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. She was about to become the first human to set foot on the Galactic Concord Station, to stand before a council of alien races. The fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life, rested on what happened next. "Are you ready?" Zyrex asked, their form beginning to flow out of the ship's structure. Ilara stood, squaring her shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be." The hatch erased open, and together, human and luminary stepped out onto the deck of the Concord Station. Ilara's eyes widened as she took in the diverse array of alien beings before her. Some were vaguely humanoid, others defied easy description. All regarded her and Zyrex with a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and barely concealed awe. A tall, willowy being with iridescent scales stepped forward. "I am Sandrath, chief diplomat of the Concord. Your arrival is unprecedented. The luminary were thought extinct, and humans have not yet achieved the technological level for Concord membership." Ilara swallowed hard, then spoke, her voice clear and steady. "I am Captain Ilara Chen of Earth. My companion is Zyrex, last of the luminary. We come bearing urgent news that affects the safety of every being in this galaxy." Sandrath's multifaceted eyes blinked slowly. "A bold claim. The Council will hear you out, but be warned. The consequences for wasting our time are severe." As they were led deeper into the station, towards the Council chambers, Ilara felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon her. She straightened her back, lifted her chin. Whatever came next, she would face it with the determination and courage that had driven her to explore the stars. The massive doors of the council chamber loomed before them. As they began to swing open, Ilara exchanged a glance with Zyrex. The alien's form shimmered with what she hoped was encouragement. Together, they stepped forward to face the assembled might of the Galactic Concord, ready to deliver their warning of the impending doom that threatened all of creation. The fate of the galaxy now hinged on their ability to convince these diverse alien races to set aside their differences and unite against a common foe. As the doors closed behind them, Ilara took a deep breath. The real challenge was about to begin. Preparations and revelations. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, its curved walls adorned with holographic displays showing star systems and swirling nebulae. Seated in a semicircle before them were representatives from dozens of alien species, each more exotic than the last. Ilara felt a mix of awe and trepidation as she and Zyrex took their place at the center of the chamber. A being that seemed to be composed entirely of crystalline structures stood, its voice resonating through the chamber. "I am Crixus, High Counselor of the Galactic Concord. Speak, visitors. What is this threat you claim endangers us all?" Zyrex's form pulsed with urgency as they began to speak. "Esteemed Council, I bring grave tidings. The Void Eaters, ancient beings of unfathomable power and hunger, still are in their prison. If they break free, all life in this galaxy, and beyond, will be consumed." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Some looked skeptical, others fearful. Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I know this sounds incredible," she said, "but I've seen evidence of their power firsthand. The seals that hold them are weakening. We need to act now, before it's too late." A serpentine alien with gleaming scales leaned forward. "And why should we trust the word of a human? Your kind are barely more than primitives, new to the stars." Ilara felt a flicker of anger, but before she could respond, Zyrex intervened. "The human speaks the truth. I am Luminary, the last of my kind. We once stood among you as equals, before our hubris led to our downfall. It was our actions that awakened the Void Eaters, and our sacrifice that sealed them away. But that seal is failing." The chamber erupted into chaos, dozens of alien voices rising in alarm and disbelief. Crixus raised a crystalline appendage, calling for order. "These are grave accusations," the High Counselor said. "If true, the implications are catastrophic, but we cannot act on mere words. What proof can you offer?" Xyrex's form shimmered, and suddenly the chamber was filled with a holographic display far more advanced than anything the Concord possessed. It showed the galaxy in intricate detail, with pulsing red nodes indicating the failing seal points. "This is happening now," Xyrex explained. "Already, the Void Eater's influence seeps through. Strange phenomena, unexplained disappearances, entire systems going dark, all can be traced back to their stirring." As the Council studied the display, Ilara noticed several of the alien representatives exchanging worried glances. It seemed some of them had encountered these phenomena firsthand. A bulbous alien with multiple eye stalks spoke up. "If this threat is real, what do you propose we do about it? How can we fight beings of such power?" Ilara stepped forward again. "We need to work together. Pool our resources, our knowledge, our technology. The seals need to be reinforced, and quickly. But more than that, we need to find a way to neutralize the Void Eaters permanently." "Impossible," scoffed another alien. "If the Luminari at the height of their power could only imprison these beings, what hope do we have?" Xyrex's form pulsed with determination. "Because we have something my people lacked: diversity. Each of your species brings unique perspectives, technologies, and abilities. Together, we might succeed where the Luminari failed." The council chamber fell silent as the assembled aliens considered this. Ilara held her breath, acutely aware that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Finally, Crixus spoke. "We will need time to verify your claims and discuss our options. But if what you say is true, we cannot afford to delay. You will be given temporary quarters while we deliberate. We will reconvene in one standard cycle." As Ilara and Xyrex were led from the chamber, the human felt a mix of relief and anxiety. They had made their case, but would it be enough? In their assigned quarters, a luxurious suite that seemed designed to accommodate a variety of alien physiologies, Ilara paced restlessly, while Xyrex's form swirled with agitation. "We don't have time for bureaucratic debates," Ilara said frustratedly. "Every moment we waste gives the Void Eaters more chance to break free." Xyrex's colors darkened. "I agree, but we must be patient. The Concord represents our best hope for a united front against this threat." Ilara sighed, running a hand through her hair. I know. It's just, I feel so helpless. There has to be something more we can do." As if in response to her words, a soft chime sounded, indicating someone at their door. When Ilara opened it, she found herself face to face with Dandrath, the chief diplomat who had greeted them earlier. "My apologies for the intrusion," Xandra said, gliding into the room. "But I believe there is something you both need to see." The diplomat activated a holographic display showing a sector of space near the edge of the galaxy. "This was recorded by one of our long-range probes just moments ago." Ilara and Xyrex watched in horror as a massive dark shape seemed to ripple into existence. It was vast beyond comprehension, its form constantly shifting and writhing. As they watched, it engulfed an entire star system, leaving nothing but empty space in its wake. By the stars, Ilara breathed, her face pale. "Is that—" "A Void Eater," Xyrex confirmed, their form contracting with dread. "One has already broken free." Xandra's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly. "The council is in emergency session. They've seen this footage. I believe they are now much more inclined to take your warning seriously." Ilara's mind raced. "We need to act now. Is there any way we can address the council again?" The diplomat hesitated, then nodded. "I can arrange it, but be prepared. They will demand action, not just warnings." As they hurried back towards the council chamber, Ilara felt a mix of vindication and terror. They had the proof they needed, but at what cost? How many lives had already been lost to the awakening Void Eater? Before they entered the chamber, Xyrex placed a tendril on Ilara's shoulder. Whatever happens next, know that your courage and determination have already changed the course of galactic history. We face this threat together. Ilara nodded, squaring her shoulders. As the doors swung open, revealing the now frantic council, she knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The galaxy was at war, whether it realized it or not. And she, a lone human explorer, stood at the forefront of that conflict. With a deep breath, Ilara stepped forward, ready to help forge an alliance that would determine the fate of all life in the cosmos. The battle against the Void Eaters was about to begin in earnest. The battle begins. The council chamber was a maelstrom of activity as Ilara and Xyrex entered. Gone was the skepticism and political maneuvering of their previous visit. Now, the air thrummed with urgency and fear. High Councillor Crix's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as they addressed the assembly. The evidence is undeniable. We face a threat unlike any in recorded history. The question now is not whether to act, but how. Ilara stepped forward, her voice clear and determined. We need to form a united front. Every race, every world must contribute. This isn't just about military might. We need scientists, engineers, even philosophers. The Void Eaters are unlike anything we've faced before. Xyrex's form rippled in agreement. The human speaks wisdom. My people's downfall came from believing we alone could contain this threat. We must learn from that mistake. A cacophony of voices filled the chamber as representatives debated and argued. Ilara watched, her heart pounding, as alliances formed and shattered in real time. It was dizzying, the complexity of galactic politics playing out before her eyes. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the station. The holographic displays flickered, showing a massive distortion in space approaching rapidly. By the eternal void, gasped a multi-limbed alien. It's here. Panic erupted in the chamber. Ilara's voice cut through the chaos. We're out of time. We need to evacuate the station now. Crix's voice boomed over the commotion. Emergency protocols activated. All non-essential personnel to evacuation points. Defense fleets, mobilize immediately. As the chamber emptied, Ilara turned to Xyrex. We can't just run. There has to be something we can do. Xyrex's form contracted, then expanded rapidly. Perhaps the station's power core, if we could modify it, create a resonance field similar to the seals. It could buy us time. Ilara finished, her mind racing. But we'd need help. As if on cue, Zandrath appeared beside them. Whatever you're planning, I want in. My people owe a debt to the stars. It's time we paid it. Together, the unlikely trio raced through the emptying corridors of the station. Alarms blared, and through the viewports, Ilara could see ships of all sizes fleeing in every direction. In the distance, a darkness deeper than the void of space approached. They reached the power core, a massive chamber humming with barely contained energy. Xyrex immediately began interfacing with the systems, their form merging with the technology in ways Ilara could barely comprehend. I need more power, Xyrex's voice echoed, and a way to modulate the output frequency. Ilara's eyes darted around the room, her engineer's mind working overtime. There, those plasma conduits, if we reroute them through the auxiliary systems. Zandrath moved with surprising agility, their many limbs working in perfect coordination. I can reconfigure the emission arrays. It won't be pretty, but it should work. As they worked feverishly, the station shuddered. Through the intercom, they heard Crix's voice, strained but defiant. The Void Eater has engaged our defense fleet. We're buying you time, but hurry. Sweat beaded on Ilara's forehead as she spliced wires and rerouted power. Her hands moved with a surety she didn't feel, guided by instinct and desperate need. Beside her, Zandrath's scales shimmered with effort, while Xyrex's form pulsed and shifted rapidly. Another violent tremor shook the station. Warning lights flashed across control panels. Hull breach in sectors 7 through 12, an automated voice announced. Structural integrity at 64% and falling. Almost there, Xyrex's voice was tight with concentration. Ilara, on my mark, I need you to overload the main reactor. Ilara's eyes widened. That could tear the station apart. Trust me, Xyrex insisted. Gandrath, be ready to modulate the field. The darkness outside the viewports grew, swallowing stars. Ilara could feel a creeping dread seeping into her mind, the psychic presence of the Void Eater. Now, Xyrex shouted. Ilara slammed her hand down on the reactor controls, bypassing every safety protocol. The chamber filled with a blinding light as raw energy surged through the hastily modified systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake reality itself, a wave of energy burst from the station. It collided with the approaching darkness, and for a heartbeat, everything seemed to freeze. The Void Eater's advance halted. Its amorphous form writhed and twisted, as if in pain. Then, slowly, impossibly, it began to retreat. Ilara could hardly believe her eyes. It's working. But their victory was short-lived. As quickly as it had appeared, the energy field began to flicker and fade. The Void Eater, sensing the weakness, pressed forward once more. The systems can't handle the strain, Xandrath called out, their voice tight with strain. We're losing containment. Xyrex's form pulsed erratically. We need more power. More life energy. Before Ilara could process what that meant, Xyrex's form began to flow into the station's systems. What are you doing? She cried out. What must be done? Xyrex's voice echoed, filled with determination and sorrow. My people's mistake unleashed this horror. It's fitting that the last of us should help stop it. Xyrex, no. Ilara reached out, but it was too late. The alien's form dissolved, merging completely with the station's power core. The energy field flared back to life, stronger than before. The Void Eater recoiled, its vast form rippling with what might have been pain. Tears streamed down Ilara's face as she watched her friend and mentor sacrifice themselves. But there was no time for grief. The battle was far from over. We need to get this data to the fleet, she said, turning to Xandrath. If we can replicate this field on a larger scale. The diplomat nodded, their eyes shimmering with a mix of sorrow and determination. Let's go. Your friend's sacrifice won't be in vain. As they raced towards the command center, Ilara's mind whirled with possibilities. They had found a weakness, a way to hurt the Void Eaters. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was hope. The battle for the galaxy had truly begun, and humanity, represented by one determined explorer, was right at the heart of it. Turning the tide, the command center of the Galactic Concord Station was a hive of frantic activity when Ilara and Xandrath burst in. Holograms flickered, showing the desperate battle raging outside. The Void Eater's massive form dominated the displays, dwarfing the combined fleets of a dozen alien races. High Counselor Crixus turned as they entered, their crystalline form pulsing with a mix of relief and urgency. Captain Chen, Diplomat Xandrath, report. What happened down there? Ilara's voice was hoarse with emotion, but steady. We found a way to hurt it, maybe even drive it back. But the cost, she swallowed hard, pushing aside her grief for Xyrex. There would be time to mourn later. We need to transmit this data to the fleet immediately. As Xandrath interfaced with the command center's systems, uploading the specifics of their makeshift energy field, Ilara turned to Crixus. We need more power, more ships. If we can create a large enough resonance field, we might be able to force the Void Eater back into dormancy. The High Counselor's form shimmered with decision. You shall have it. All ships, this is High Counselor Crixus. Converge on these coordinates. Prepare to receive critical data. As the fleet maneuvered into position, Ilara felt a moment of awe. Vessels of every shape and size, representing civilizations she had never even heard of, moved in concert. It was a testament to the unity forged in the face of annihilation. Data transmission complete, Xandrath announced. The fleet is adapting their systems now. Ilara leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays. It'll take time for them to implement the changes. We need to buy that time. Crixus nodded, their voice resonating through the command center. All ships engage diversionary tactics. Keep the Void Eater occupied. The next few minutes were chaos. Ilara watched, her heart in her throat, as ships darted and weaved around the massive form of the Void Eater. Some were swatted aside like insects, others simply vanished, consumed by the creature's unfathomable hunger. But slowly, surely, the fleet's formation began to change. Ships linked up, forming intricate geometric patterns that Ilara recognized as amplification arrays. "They're ready," she breathed. "Now we just need to." Her words were cut off as the station shuddered violently. Warning klaxons blared. "Multiple hull breaches," a technician called out. "We're venting atmosphere in sectors 3 through 9. Crixus's form pulsed with determination. "Initiate emergency protocols. Begin station-wide evacuation." Ilara's mind raced. They were so close, but if the station fell apart now... Suddenly, an idea struck her. "Wait, the station, we can use it." All eyes turned to her. Ilara forged ahead, the plan forming even as she spoke. "The modifications we made to the power core, they're still active. If we overload it completely, drop the containment fields." Xandrath's eyes widened in understanding. "We could create a resonance pulse powerful enough to stun the Void Eater, give the fleet the opening they need." "But that would destroy the station entirely," Crixus objected. Ilara nodded grimly. "Yes, but it might be our only chance." For a moment, the command center was silent save for the blaring alarms. Then Crixus straightened, their crystalline form gleaming with resolve. "Do it. I'll remain behind to ensure the overload." "No," Ilara said firmly. "I'll do it. I'm the one who knows the systems best." Before anyone could object, she turned to Xandrath. "Get everyone off the station. Coordinate with the fleet. When you see the pulse, that's your chance. Hit it with everything you've got." Xandrath reached out, placing a hand on Ilara's shoulder. "Your courage honors us all human. May the stars guide your path." As the command center emptied, Ilara settled into the main control station. Her fingers flew over the controls, bypassing safeties and rerouting power. The station groaned around her, systems failing one by one. Through the viewports, she could see the last evacuation ships fleeing. The Void Eater loomed ever closer, its unfathomable form blocking out the stars. Ilara took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the final command. "This is for you, Zyrex," she whispered. She pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound that seemed to tear reality itself, the station erupted in a blaze of energy. The pulse slammed into the Void Eater, causing its massive form to recoil. Through failing systems, Ilara saw the fleet spring into action. Hundreds of ships, their systems linked and amplified, fired as one. The resonance field expanded, enveloping the Void Eater in a web of crackling energy. The creature writhed, its form twisting in ways that hurt to look at, and then, slowly but surely, it began to shrink. The darkness that had threatened to swallow the galaxy condensed, compressing into a sphere no larger than a small moon. Ilara's vision blurred, alarms blaring around her as the station fell apart. But she smiled. They had done it. The Void Eater was contained. As consciousness faded, her last thought was of Earth, of home. She had left as an explorer and become a savior of galaxies. Not bad for a day's work. The station disintegrated around her, but Ilara Chen's legacy was secure. The battle was won, and the galaxy would remember the human who helped turn the tide. A new era. Consciousness returned to Ilara slowly, like wading through a thick fog. The first thing she became aware of was a steady beeping sound, then the sensation of lying on something soft. She opened her eyes, blinking against the bright light. "Welcome back, Captain Chen," a familiar voice said. As her vision cleared, Ilara saw Zandrath standing beside her bed, their iridescent scales shimmering with what seemed to be relief. "I'm alive," Ilara croaked, her voice rough from disuse. "How?" Zandrath's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly. "It was a close thing. We managed to lock onto your life signs just before the station disintegrated. You've been in stasis healing for nearly 3 lunar cycles." Ilara struggled to sit up, her mind reeling. "The Void Eater, did we?" "Contained," Zandrath confirmed, gently helping her into a sitting position. "Your plan worked better than we could have hoped. The combined resonance field compressed the entity into a stable singularity. It's been moved to a secure location for study and continued containment." Relief washed over Ilara, quickly followed by a pang of grief. "Xerex, they didn't make it, did they?" Zandrath's colors darkened slightly. "I'm sorry. The Luminari's sacrifice was instrumental in our victory. They will be remembered as a hero across the galaxy." Ilara nodded, fighting back tears. There would be time to mourn properly later. What happens now? As if in answer to her question, the door to her room slid open. High Counselor Crixus entered, their crystalline form glowing with an inner light. "Captain Chen," Crixus said, their voice resonating with warmth, "your actions have saved countless lives and altered the course of galactic history. The Concord owes you a debt we can never fully repay." Ilara shook her head. "I just did what needed to be done. Anyone would have." "No," Crixus interrupted gently. "What you and Xerex accomplished was extraordinary, which is why we have a proposition for you." Ilara listened in growing amazement as Crixus outlined the Concord's offer. In light of the Void Eater crisis and humanity's pivotal role in resolving it, Earth was being offered accelerated membership in the Galactic Concord, and they wanted Ilara to serve as humanity's first official ambassador. "Me?" Ilara said, stunned. "But I'm an explorer, not a diplomat. Surely there are others more qualified." Zandrath stepped forward. "You've shown courage, ingenuity, and an ability to bridge gaps between vastly different species. These are exactly the qualities we need as we enter this new era." Ilara's mind raced. The opportunities this presented for humanity were staggering. Access to advanced technologies, cultural exchanges, joint scientific endeavors. But it would also mean responsibility on a scale she had never imagined. "There's more," Crixus added. "The crisis has shown us that we need to be better prepared for threats on this scale. We're establishing a new division within the Concord, the Void Watch. Its purpose will be to monitor for any signs of similar entities and develop strategies to counter them. We'd like you to help lead it." Ilara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. But along with that weight came a sense of purpose, of rightness. This was why she had always been drawn to the stars, not just to explore, but to make a difference on a cosmic scale. "I accept," she said firmly, "on one condition." Crixus tilted their crystalline head. "Name it." "We establish a memorial for Xerex and all others who sacrifice themselves to stop the Void Eater. Their story needs to be told." The High Counselor's form pulsed with approval. "It shall be done." In the days that followed, as Ilara regained her strength and prepared for her new roles, she often found herself gazing out at the stars. The galaxy seemed both larger and smaller now, vast in its possibilities, yet connected in ways she was only beginning to understand. Earth's induction into the Galactic Concord was met with a mix of excitement and trepidation back home. But as Ilara stood before the United Nations, explaining the new reality humanity faced, she felt a swell of pride. Her species had been thrust onto the galactic stage far earlier than anyone had anticipated, but she knew they were ready for the challenge. The Void Watch grew quickly, attracting brilliant minds from across the Concord. Ilara found herself at the forefront of groundbreaking research, pushing the boundaries of science and metaphysics. The memory of Xyrex drove her forward, honoring their sacrifice by working tirelessly to ensure it would never need to be repeated. Years passed, and the galaxy entered a new golden age of cooperation and discovery. The threat of the Void Eaters had shown every species the value of unity, of combining their unique strengths and perspectives. On the 10th anniversary of the Void Eaters' containment, Ilara stood before a vast crowd on a newly terraformed world. Behind her towered a monument, a spiraling structure of light and shadow that seemed to defy physics. At its heart, a holographic representation of Xyrex pulsed gently. "We gather here today," Ilara began, her voice carrying across the assembled representatives of 100 worlds, not just to remember the past, but to look to the future. "The crisis we faced showed us the darkest depths of the cosmos, but it also illuminated the best of who we can be when we stand together." As she spoke, Ilara's gaze drifted upward, to the stars that had always called to her. She thought of the lonely alien she had met on a distant world, of the unlikely friendship that had blossomed between them. She thought of the sacrifices made and the lessons learned. "The universe is vast and often dangerous," she continued, "but it is also filled with wonders beyond imagining. As we move forward into this new era, let us carry with us the courage to face the unknown, the wisdom to learn from our mistakes, and the compassion to see the value in every form of life we encounter." The crowd erupted in applause, a cacophony of sounds from a myriad of species united in purpose. Ilara smiled, feeling the weight of her responsibilities balanced by the thrill of possibilities that lay ahead. The galaxy had changed and humanity along with it, but the spirit of exploration, of pushing boundaries and seeking understanding remained. And as long as that spirit endured, Ilara knew there would always be hope for a brighter future among the stars. As the ceremony concluded and the crowds dispersed, Ilara found a quiet moment alone before the monument. She reached out, her fingers brushing the holographic representation of Xyrex. "We did it, old friend," she whispered, "and we're just getting started." With a final glance at the stars above, Ambassador Ilara Chen, hero of the galaxy and bridge between worlds, turned to face the future she had helped create. The next great adventure was about to begin.